Welcome to the Grueling Truth NFL Weekly Pick'em Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. We are at Wildcard Weekend, and of course, we're brought to you by MyBookie.ag, which I had a great experience with the other day, Matt, when I bet and got like 4-1 odds on Central Florida and won like $80, and then lost half of that back on the Alabama-Clemson game. All right, so make sure you check out MyBookie.ag. Go to our website. Click the banner. It'll take you right there. You can bet on all the wild card games this weekend. First up, I want to welcome in our co-host, Matt Andruscavage, who, as we go to the playoffs, has a 2-game lead over Brian and a 3 or 4-game lead over me. How you doing, Matt?
I am good. It's for the first year on our Pick'em show. I'm not weeping about my team, and we're not tied.
Well, the fact that you're not weeping about a team that won 5 or 6 games will tell you what the expectations were.
Exactly.
All right, next
no
up,
lie.
we've got Alex Golden, who didn't get any games right last week because he wasn't here. How you doing, Alex?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good, guys. Just, excited for these playoff games coming up this weekend.
All right, next up, we've got Brian Schmidt. How you doing, Schmitty?
I'm doing great in Greensboro, North Carolina, in my penthouse suite for the next 11 days, chilling, ready to talk football.
All right, and next up, we've got from him this penthouse suite in Colorado, former Denver Bronco, former Tampa Bay Buccaneer. Both of those teams sucked this year, by the way, Coop. Former Denver Bronco offensive lineman, Mark Cooper. How you doing, Coop?
Hey, I'd be a lot happier if they would have fired Vance Joseph today. But, hey, I'm doing good.
At least they didn't hire Marvin Lewis.
Yeah.
I mean, guys, seriously, is there anything dumber than a coach being someplace for 16, 17 years, never winning a playoff game, and still keeping his job? Coop, I'll let you go first.
Well, like I said, he's got naked pictures on somebody because I'm not sure. I mean, they almost fired Vance after one season, which they should have done. Fox got it after being 3 years at the bottom of their division. I mean, a lot of firings, a lot of interesting stuff going on in the NFL. And then, like we discussed earlier, man, it was tough to pick last week. And then guys are putting guys on the bench in IR and sitting them and not playing them and everything else. So it was kind of an awkward week in the NFL.
Hey, in our defense, though, I think we all got like 11 games right.
Yeah,
pretty much.
What was Coop's record?
Let's take a look here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
10. So Coop was the big loser.
There you go.
All right. That's because you had to be a little rusty picking those games at the start last week. It's been a while.
He would have won if he hadn't picked against the Colts.
Yeah.
That's one of the few times you could ever say that this year. So let's go. What was your big takeaway from the weekend, Matt?
Lots of stuff. I'll start with my homerism for the segment. I'll just say I was very happy to see my team finish with 5 straight wins. And then probably the best thing after that was watching both Atlanta win, but watching the Seahawks get Blair Walsh was just epic.
All right. Alex.
Yeah, my big takeaway from the weekend was just the fact that, I think it's sad to see Bruce Arians leave the NFL. I think he's a great coach. And, I enjoyed watching him here at the Colts and just kind of see how his career played out. And, a lot of coaches got fired, obviously, not necessarily all the names we thought. It was interesting to see that the Bengals, like we mentioned, did keep Marvin Lewis once again. But, you got to give him credit. He got the Bills to the playoffs for the first time in 17 years. So there's been some positive things.
Well, if this is because of Marvin, they'll promptly lose in the first round.
Well, that's going to be a tough game. I'm excited to talk about that one for sure. But yeah, just a lot of coaches getting fired, and I think one of the most shocking ones was probably Detroit. I wasn't really expecting Caldwell to get fired so soon.
Really? I was. I thought he should have got fired last year. I don't think he's ever been that good of a coach.
I think he's a good coach, though.
Why?
I just like the way he coaches. I don't know.
Yeah. Too much like Marvin Lewis to me, which means he's boring and never takes any chances. And his teams, just haven't won lately. And, they won when he had Peyton Manning. But I have never been a big Jim Caldwell fan. All right, Coop, what was your big takeaway for the weekend?
Well, the Bucks beat the Saints. Oakland, how far they fell this year, and then Jack Del Rio getting fired, that wasn't exactly a surprise, but, it's he's had a kind of a storied, history. He was a great player, but boy, he had a tough time getting, doing much of the head coach job. Matt, it was good. It was good to see San Francisco get 5 in a row. And maybe making a comeback, even though the Rams sat everybody. But it's still kind of good to see them getting back on track. And Lynch being their GM, I've always liked him being a Denver guy. So you kind of look around the league a little bit and saw a few things here and there. And then the Steelers playing so close with the Browns at first there was a little scary when you're watching that pop up on the scoreboards when you're watching other games. So, but then, Kansas City comes in here with their B team and Denver can't just put anything together, to pull off a win here. So, that helped get a lot of coaches fired.
All right, Brian, and he brought up your Steelers, and my question is this: the starting defense played. There has to be some concern with the way that defense is playing right now.
They started, but there were a lot of guys that didn't play a lot of snaps. Defensively, last couple of years, they've always been hit and miss. They can look real good for a couple of weeks, and they look bad. But there were a lot of guys. Watts played, didn't play a lot. Hayden didn't play a lot. They were in and out. So I wasn't real worried about that. But I tell you that the biggest thing for me was I don't know why I was just so happy to see the Bills make the playoffs. I guess, because the Ravens got knocked out. But I was just so happy to see the Bills make the playoffs. I know they're not going to go far, but it's just nice to see the Bills back in the playoffs. And I got to tell you, the worst football game ever in the history of football was the 6-0 slobber knocker that was the Dallas Cowboys versus the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, and I would like to bring up the fact that right after our show last week, a certain person that listens to this show immediately posted harassing us all for picking against the Eagles.
I know she did. Becky was on top.
Yeah, we really blew that.
Yeah, and we all nailed it.
And we were all right, and she was wrong. And I would also like to point out that 6-0 game was maybe one of the worst games to ever watch. It was mind-numbing.
Did you watch it?
Not all of it, because I kept dozing off. But and plus I was paying more attention to the Pittsburgh game, which was actually a fun, exciting game.
Yeah, it was. And, of course, the Cleveland Browns have a chance to win the game at the end, and the receiver just completely drops a pass that would have gave him first and goal at the 10.
Yeah, that was crazy. But playoff time, so it's always a fun, exciting time, and it'll be interesting to see how these first-round matchups play out.
Yeah, and I think since I'm 4 games back, I'm going to have to take some chances starting this week. We'll start off with Saturday's first game at 4:30 on ESPN, where John Gruden, I guess, is calling the game, even though it's obvious he's the Raiders coach, especially when Paul Guenther stepped down as the Bengals defensive coordinator a couple hours ago, and he's best friends with, John Gruden. So the Titans are 8.5-point underdogs against the Chiefs. Neither one of these teams have really looked that great recently, Matt. Who do you like here? Matt?
I'm sorry.
Come on, Matt. We're live. You can't be falling asleep. Are you watching a replay of the Eagles and Cowboys?
No. My daughter decided to get out of bed. Sorry about that. Didn't hear what you said.
Let her
Go
pick
ahead.
the game for you.
Which game are we doing?
The Tennessee Titans, 8.5-point underdogs at the Kansas City Chiefs.
Tennessee at Kansas City. Well, Tennessee has not been super impressive. They did beat Jacksonville, but I'm not sure Jacksonville was going all out there. I'm going to give Kansas City the edge at home. Kansas City's not the same team that they were early in the season, but I think they're good enough to win this game, and that'll probably be the end of the road for them. But I'll take the Chiefs.
All right, Brian.
Yeah. I'm going to take the Chiefs. It's one of those who sucks less, and right now in this game, Kansas City sucks less than the Titans. So Kansas City will win this, and then that'll be their swan song to the playoffs because they won't win after that.
All right, Coop.
Yeah, it's tough to bet against Kansas City at home. The Titans have been, hit and miss kind of all year. I thought they were going to be a much better football team and kind of dominate things, and they really didn't. So you're 9-7 and second in the AFC South. So just made the playoffs by beating Jags last week. So I like Kansas City. I've always, obviously played against them a lot and watch them a lot. So, it's tough to pick against them at home.
All right, Alex Golden.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are talking about the Chiefs not playing well, but they have won 4 in a row, so they do have some bit of momentum going into this game. And, playing at Kansas City is one of the tougher stadiums in the league. So I think the 8.5-point favorite is pretty good. I don't know if I would pick it by 8 points or 9 points, whatever. But I do think Kansas City is by far the better team here. I don't really think Tennessee is that good.
All right, I'm going to pick the Tennessee Titans to win this game. I think Marcus Mariota will win this with his feet, plus I'm 4 games behind, and I don't have a lot of faith in Alex Smith. Marcus Mariota, I haven't seen as much. He's only played a couple years, so I have more faith in him. So I'm going to take the Tennessee Titans to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Next up, the 8:15 game on NBC Saturday night. The Atlanta Falcons will be at the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams will be favored by 6.5, Brian.
Yeah, and I am all about the Rams in this one. Kind of outside of Pittsburgh, the Rams are kind of my other team that I'm kind of rooting for. See them go play well. So I am going to pick the Rams, and I think the Rams are just far and away. They're just a real good football team, and I know this is a first playoff game in a while, but I think they're a really fun team to watch and a very talented team, especially offensively.
All right, Matt.
I think this game's a toss-up, and I'll tell you why. You go on paper, you go basically how the teams have played as of late. The Rams should win this. I'm going to pick the Rams, but I would not be surprised if Atlanta was able to get something together just because of experience. I do like their coach. I do like the way their defense is played, but I really don't like the way Matt Ryan is playing. He's very inconsistent right now. So it tells me the Rams should win, but the only reason I'd say it's a toss-up just because we have not seen what this team can do in the postseason. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is anybody's game, but I'm going to pick the Rams to win.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Falcons. The Rams are – what? Why are you laughing?
Whatever I say for you to pick the opposite.
No, just 3 out of the 4 games will I pick the opposite. And then I figure if I hit 2 out of 3, I'm 2 games back, and I'm back in this bad boy.
There you go.
I think this. I think the Falcons are going to win this game. I hope I'm wrong. I hope the Rams win. I'm kind of like Schmidt in the 70s growing up, Jack Youngblood, Wendell Tyler, Vince Ferragamo, Pat Hayden, Nolan Cromwell. I always like the Rams. But I think the Falcons, I think they got the defensive front that may be able to slow down Todd Gurley. They've got Grady Jarrett, who's played unreal at defensive tackle. I think he can hold up the middle. You still got Matt Ryan and Julio Jones there, and I'm still not sure about how great the Rams are in the backside of the defense. I know the front side's really good, but I'm going to take the Falcons just because I think the Rams might still be a year away. Sean McVay with Dan Quinn's kind of a push because McVay hasn't been there. Quinn was there last year and maybe choked more monumentally than anybody ever has in their life in a big football game in the Super Bowl. So I'm going to go with the Falcons, but I think this is a toss-up too, Coop.
Well, I don't know. I like the Rams. I like Goff and Gurley. I like Wade Phillips running that defense because there's not probably anybody else better in the league, in my view, and maybe a little biased on that. But, I think he'll be able to handle that Atlanta offensive scheme, and they do a nice job moving guys around. But at the same time, God, it's driving me crazy. I'm trying to remember the special teams coach at the Rams, too, because his dad was a head coach for years and all over the league, and I can't remember his name, but he's always got a little wrinkle in the playoffs, seems like, or, in big games where he comes up with something special. And I can't remember his name to save my life. But I'll think of it and bring it back up. But, yeah, I got the Rams. I like the Rams a lot, 11-5 overall, too.
So are you going to think about it or are you going to Google it? Because I think you're thinking
Rams,
of Jeff Fossil. I think you're thinking of Jeff Fossil's son, right?
That's
I can't remember his first name. But
John Fossil is his last name. But
yeah, John.
Yep, John Fossil. Yep, he's always got a wrinkle. He's always got something that he pulls out of the bag. So I'll be interested to watch that game.
All right,
That's
Alex.
the guy who coached the Giants?
Jeff Fossil is,
His
yeah.
dad did,
Took him to Super Bowl 35.
Yeah, and he was a coach here in Denver for a while, too.
Got it.
All right, Alex.
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement with you here, Mike, on this game. It's not necessarily that I don't like the Rams, and I do think Todd Gurley is definitely a front runner for MVP of the league, and the Rams are a fun team to watch and root for. But, they do talk about that Super Bowl hangover, but now that the Falcons are back in the playoffs, how eager will they, to be able to say, hey, we're back and we're going to try to prove ourselves this time around and, just kind of play with a chip on their shoulder. So I think it's really just experience versus the young and up-and-coming team, and I'll take the experience in this one. I'm going to pick the Falcons.
All right, next up, Alex says you were excited about this one. We're going to give you the Buffalo Bills, travel to the Jacksonville Jaguars. First time the Bills have been in the playoffs since 1999. The Jaguars are favored by 9, Alex.
Yeah, well, I don't think I like the point spread on this at all. I think it's going to be a really close game. This is probably the toughest game for me to pick because at the end of the day, it's like if you're picking Jacksonville, you got to say, man, can I really trust Blake Bortles because he can give away a game just as well as the defense can win one. So I'm going to pick the Jaguars here. I don't love it. I would like to see a really close game here. And, Buffalo, they might have a chance. They just kind of feel like this Cinderella story team that might be able to pull off a game. And, Jacksonville's not playing great right now. They just lost 2 in a row to Tennessee and San Francisco. So, I'm gonna pick Jacksonville, but I don't love it.
All right, Matt.
I'm going with Jacksonville also. A little bit of history with the Bills. I mean, they haven't been in the playoffs since '99, but then they haven't won a game since I think '94 or '95. It's definitely been a while. But regardless, the thing that concerns me about the Bills is LaShawn McCoy's banged up. He's going to play possibly, but he's not going to be 100%. And the other thing is I really don't like the coaching on Buffalo. I think they've made a lot of really questionable decisions, especially that benching of Tyrod Taylor that almost cost them a playoff spot. But when you watch Buffalo, I don't think they use LaShawn McCoy enough, and I don't think I don't know. I don't know what it is about the play calling. The offensive play calling just never really looks right. They always seems like they're underachieving, like they could be doing better. But anyways, with Jacksonville, I think defensively, Buffalo just won't be able to score. I think Jacksonville probably only needs 17 points to win this game. As long as they don't turn the ball over, they'll win the game. So I'll go with Jacksonville.
All right. I'm going to go with Buffalo because Blake Bortles is going to turn the ball over. Buffalo's going to play defense. This is going to be a tight defensive struggle. The difference is going to be Blake Bortles is going to throw the ball to the other team. If you want to talk about a team that has not played well lately, it's Jacksonville. I mean, they got blown out by the 49ers, and well, not blown out, but it ends up being, what, a 10-point game or 7-point game. But the point was this. They lost that game because Blake Bortles gave the ball up too many times. You know, the Niners scored touchdowns on defense. I think that's going to happen here. Plus, remember this. The Jacksonville Jaguars coach, I'm not even going to say his name because I can't stand the guy because of what he did in Buffalo. He goes 9-7 in 2014, texts all his players and tells them that he's not coaching there anymore. So I think the dude is gutless. And I think the Buffalo Bills are going to make him pay for it, and I think they're going to kick his ass. Brian?
You know, you have convinced me.
There you go.
I was all ready to put Jacksonville down on my sheet, and you have convinced me that Buffalo's.
I almost want to change my pick too, Mike. I got to give you props on that.
Well, you're not allowed. So go ahead, Brian.
I am going with Buffalo. I everything you said. One of the rare times that everything you said made perfect sense.
I know, I'm spellbound.
So I am happy that I actually listened to you, and Buffalo it is.
All right, Coop.
Man, this is the toughest game for me to pick because you make a good point, but it seemed like Buffalo after the Cincinnati beat them, you know, they just couldn't get their act together throughout the end of the season after that bye week, and then you think about Jacksonville at 10-6, you know what I mean, and some of the teams they lost to with Tennessee and the Jets and the Rams. They did beat the Chargers, lost to Arizona, lost to San Francisco. You got to. It's like a coin flip for me, but I just think Buffalo has been in a little bit more of a disarray. And McCoy, I'm not sure that ankle will last on the turf, so I'm going to go with Jacksonville.
See, I just think Tyrod Taylor can do more things than Blake Bortles. I like Taylor better than Bortles. He doesn't turn the ball over as much because they don't give him the opportunity to. But all right, the next game, Alex started that one, so I'll start this one since I already disagreed with Matt 3 times. We got the Carolina Panthers at the New Orleans Saints. The Saints are in the Superdome favored by 6.5. I'm going to take the Saints. I think the Saints are going to be – it'll be the Saints or the Vikings going to the Super Bowl to play the Patriots, in my opinion. And that is this. The Saints can run the ball. The Saints can play defense now. And you've got a Hall of Fame quarterback in Drew Brees. So I don't know what more you need to actually make a run. I mean, with the Panthers, you've got Cam Newton, who's a front runner, so they better get the lead early. He was absolutely pathetic against Atlanta. And anybody that thinks the man is an elite quarterback is smoking some kind of funny stuff. And I'm not talking about pot either. I'm talking about funnier stuff than that because Cam Newton's not it. Every once in a while, he looks like a good quarterback when they're letting him run around. The Saints will keep him in the pocket. The Saints win this game by 2 touchdowns, Schmitty.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a closer game than what you think, but I think in the end, I think New Orleans will win this. A, being at home. B, I think they're a better football team. C, I've always been a Drew Brees fan ever since he was at Purdue. And I agree. I think that it's going to be Minnesota and New Orleans playing play the Steelers in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. All right. Coop.
Well, I'm not a Cam Newton fan, and I think I think the Saints defense is going to will really hit him in the face and discombobulate him, kind of like the Broncos did a few years back. And whenever Cam, gets hit and beat up and pushed around a little bit, he turns into just a very average dude. And Drew Brees, man, it's hard to bet against him when he's in the dome and being at home like that. That place is gonna be rocking. So I'm gonna go with Brees and the Saints.
All right, Alex Golden.
Well, if you guys remember, the Saints did beat the Panthers twice already this season, so that gives me confidence to pick the Saints. But I'll just step out on a limb here and I'll say it. I think the Saints are going to win the Super Bowl this year. And Drew Brees will ride off in the sunset. He will retire after they win the Super Bowl this year.
All right, Matt.
It's possible. I'm also going with the Saints. I think they're going to completely take the Panthers apart in every way. I think that power run game with Ingram and Kamara will keep that defense on the field a very long time. You give Drew Brees weapons like that, something he hasn't really had, even in the Super Bowl year. They just didn't. The running game was just to really keep the defense honest. This year, they're leaning on the run game. And I think that defense will completely get after Cam Newton. They'll force turnovers. Cam Newton is an average quarterback at best, and he is not cut out for games like this. In the Superdome, New Orleans will dominate this game.
All right. I think it's everybody there. What else we get to talk about? We get the Hall of Fame finalists just came out. And I know that Terrell Owens.
I didn't even see that.
It just actually right now came out. Ray Lewis, Brian Urlacher, Edgerrin James, Randy Moss, Terrell Owens, Isaac Bruce, John Lynch, Brian Dawkins, Everson Walls, Ty Law, Tony Baselli, who should have already been in there, Kevin Mawai, who I think should be in there, but they never treat offensive linemen right, Steve Hutchinson, Joe Jacoby, Alan Faneca. Who stands out there to you, Schmitty?
I know you read them so fast, but
I know
you did.
I was trying to make it difficult.
Yeah, the one name that I you did you say Randy Moss?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's going in.
I mean, he'd be one that I think I'd like to see in there. I don't know that he'll make it on the first ballot, but I think he's a guy that could be there. But I'd have to give the rest of the names since you read it so fast that really, honestly, it's all a blur to me.
Here we go again. Ray Lewis, Brian Urlacher, Edgerrin James, Randy Moss, Terrell Owens, Isaac Bruce, John Lynch, Brian Dawkins, Emerson Walls, Ty Law, Tony Baselli, Kevin Mawai from Tennessee, Joe Jacoby, Steve Hutchinson, and Alan Faneca.
Ray Lewis will make it. He might as well. Right,
Ray Lewis is a slam dunk. I think Urlacher should be a slam dunk.
Yeah, Urlacher is another one that I think should be there.
The only one that stands out to me that I don't think should be there is Edgerrin James.
Agree. I was going to say the same thing. I'm not an Edgerrin James fan.
Alex, you're a Colts fan. What's your take on James?
Yeah, I mean, I think Edgerrin James is a really good running back and probably a little bit underrated because he was, playing second fiddle to Peyton Manning and Marvin Harrison in that era. But, when you list those other guys, I feel like they had more of an impact on the game than Edgerrin did. So he'll probably be one that, resurfaces for the next couple years, probably 5-10 years before he gets in. But, I think he's a little bit underrated as a running back, and he was awesome when he was here, though.
Yeah, I agree with you. When I saw him, I didn't think Hall of Fame running back. I thought a hell of a running back, but maybe not Hall of Fame. The guy that stands out there to me, Coop, is Tony Baselli. I think he should have been in a long time ago.
Yeah, guys, could have been one of the top ever.
Yeah, his problem is his career was cut to 6 or 7 years because of the injuries.
Yep.
All right, so real quick, let's just run down the teams that have buys this week, see where everybody thinks they sit. We'll start off with the Pittsburgh Steelers, Schmitty. What's your take on the Steelers right now?
I'll be happy. I'm happy they got the bye week. This gets them healed up. Because, really the key for them is going to be, defensively, that they play solidly. They've had this year especially times where they look real solid, and then other times they look not so solid. So I would like to see them be consistent. The other big part of it is, will AB be back? With Antonio Brown back, that gives them a lot offensively. But I will say this, him being out, it's been interesting to see some of the guys that have stepped up. I think in a lot of ways the offense has gotten better now that Brown comes back because there's some guys that really stepped up to be weapons. And you saw especially Bryant really went from the doghouse to being the receiver that everybody thought he could be.
Yeah, and Juju Schuster's been unreal.
Oh, the comparison with him has been, Hines Ward, and you really see that. Except obviously a little bit more explosive. But I mean, he's, everybody will talk about the block that he had against the Bengals. I mean, that a lot of people compare that to Hines Ward, but just everything he's doing, he's going to be a guy that's going to be very good for Pittsburgh for years to come.
All right, let's go Minnesota Vikings, and we'll go with Coop. What's your take on the Vikings going into this?
Well, I think they get that extra week off and they get to watch New Orleans play, but I'm not sure that's going to help them because I'm kind of riding that Drew Brees train to the Super Bowl as well. Not necessarily that they'll win it because both Pittsburgh and New England are going to be tough to get past in that final game. But I haven't watched a lot of Minnesota over this year, so I'm not probably the best guy to speak about Minnesota. Even though the 2 seed, I mean, they played some good football, and last year they were, on fire until they had so many injuries that kind of put them, kind of dropped them out of the picture, and then they missed a big field goal, et cetera. So I think they're, getting a week off, but then they got to get past New Orleans.
All right, Alex, the New England Patriots.
Hey, I knew you were going to do this.
Actually, I didn't till it just popped into my head because I'm thinking, what other teams we got to talk about? And I'm thinking New England.
Yeah.
I think Alex loves the Patriots.
Yeah, go to the Colts guy. Well, I'll sit here and I'll be unbiased. And the only thing I want to say though is so many teams are going after their offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator for their coaching positions or their vacancies. So, I wonder how much of a distraction that'll be. I don't think it necessarily will be a huge distraction, but this could be the last time all these guys are together with McDaniel's probably going to get a job somewhere and Patricia probably getting a job somewhere. So just kind of interesting to see what happens here. And that could be some momentum to just, give it one last hurrah with this group, because if they both do leave, it kind of makes you wonder what are Belichick and Brady going to do going forward if they lose both their offensive and defensive coordinators? So that's just my biggest question mark with this team. And, I think it definitely could be some motivation to try to go out there and win back-to-back Super Bowls.
Well, I think with New England that Belichick has so much say on the offensive and defensive side of the ball, it's not as big a deal as, say, Pittsburgh or the Rams losing their coordinators.
No, and I agree with you there completely. I mean, Belichick is, Belichick, and he has his system, and I think the guys will be locked in for sure. But you just wonder, because it depends on how many interviews that McDaniels has. That's going to be quite a bit of talking to people while he's trying to prepare for a team. So, it is what it is. I don't think it's going to be too big of a factor, but right now that's their biggest factor to me, and they always find a way to win. So. Whether it's cheating or not, just kidding. They'll figure out a way to win.
McDaniels did a horrible job in Denver, and then he was the OC, if you guys remember, at the Rams, and they were they won like 5 games.
Right.
So he's the most suspect of them all to me.
Well, if you look at the majority of assistants, Coop, that's come from New England, the majority have failed miserably, whether it was Charlie Weiss or Romeo Crennel or whoever it was.
Right.
And I think that's just because when they're with Belichick kind of holds their hand and walks them through everything. At least that's the way I take it from watching them. All right, Matt, that leaves you with the Los Angeles Rams, who I predict within 3 years Matt will have an unbridled hatred for the Los Angeles Rams.
No, I don't know.
You will.
If they don't, as long as they don't play thug football like Seattle, I'm not going to have a problem with them. I really like the Rams, I think the Rams are. So wait a minute. The Rams aren't on a bye week.
No, why did I say the Rams?
No,
then?
you're thinking Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. What the hell? Come on, Matt. Why are you talking about the Rams? They play this week. I was just testing you to see if you were paying attention.
The Eagles, I think, are in serious trouble. We saw that dumpster fire of a game this past week, and I don't know what. I don't believe in Nick Foles. I'm not saying he's a terrible quarterback because there's been times where he has played pretty well, but outside of that 2013 season, I don't think Nick Foles has been good at all. I don't believe in his ability to lead them past really any of these teams. Even Atlanta, I think, would have a chance if they were to, win this weekend, and they would be the ones going up to Philadelphia. I think Atlanta would have a chance to win that game. I just don't. I think they're a completely different team without Carson Wentz. I know they've got a good defense, and they also probably realize everyone's counting them out, so they're probably going to play hard. But I don't know. I just can't see them. It's really hard for me to picture them defeating a New Orleans or a Minnesota or the Rams. I just think they're in trouble.
Well, my problem is I couldn't see them beating the Saints. And that's just because of Drew Brees. And today I wrote a couple articles like the top 12, ranking the 12 quarterbacks in the playoffs. And I mean, this is, I think, maybe the worst playoffs ever for good to great to Hall of Fame quarterbacks. I mean, you've got like 5 guys that make the case that they're elite. Then you got a couple guys like Cam Newton that have done some things. And then you got 4 or 5 guys that have never really done anything. Some of them haven't even played in the playoffs before. And I think that's what makes this such a crapshoot.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I will say that, getting back to the I'd like to say something about the Steelers and the Patriots. To me, the Steelers have the best offense in football, apart from maybe the Saints. But what is Joe Hayden? Is Joe Hayden totally gone for the year?
No, he's been back the last 2 weeks. He's been playing pretty well.
I didn't even realize he came back because I do think they need him. But I think the James Harrison pickup is actually going to be bigger than we thought. James Harrison, not necessarily from a statistical standpoint, even though it was kind of interesting to see that he got 2 sacks this past week. I think he just brings he's another veteran leader for this
he brings
defense.
energy to the field.
He brings an energy, exactly. I think he's gonna bring more to the table to New England than we probably thought. And I will say this about Matt Patricia. It is odd always seeing him with a pencil in his ear with a laminated play sheet. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, well, that's because that's what Daddy tells him to do. But you know what? I would love to have Matt Patricia as the head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals, even with a pencil and a laminated play sheet. But all right, guys, we're going to wrap this up. Remember, you can come catch us next Tuesday night for the divisional playoffs, where once again I'll probably make some offhanded bull crap comment about Marvin Lewis still keeping his job. But that's all right. And you can hear me and Joe Kelly talk all about it sometime here in the next week on the Bengals Weekly Show. We were hoping to maybe not have to rehash and bitch about the same thing every week, but it looks like this is headed into the off season also. Matt, do you and Dexter have a season wrap-up show this week?
Yes, we actually recorded yesterday. We were supposed to have William Floyd on, but he's out of the country. But he'll be coming back this week, so we're going to have we're putting up the show we recorded yesterday, and we'll be having William Floyd on as well to talk his career and also talk a little bit about the future of the franchise.
All right, Alex, we got any NBA shows coming? Is there a Colts wrap-up show coming? Or?
Yeah, I think NBA show probably next Monday. We kind of took a couple weeks break here with the holidays, just falling on that Monday when we record. So we'll be doing a Colts wrap-up show. Me and Gage Bridgeford will be doing that tomorrow. Probably just looking ahead at some of the candidates that are coming in for interviews this week, and just overall thoughts about this Colts team going forward, and comments Jimmy Irsay said about Andrew Luck. So that'll be out tomorrow. So hopefully we'll get that up Thursday morning.
All right, guys. And, of course, me and Brian Schmidt, hopefully we'll be doing a college football show maybe Sunday night, maybe even sooner, Schmitty, because we got a possibility of Kirk Herbstreit coming on the show. We're trying to work it out with him right now.
All right.
So I don't know what days he can do. I don't know if he can do the Sunday night before the game or not, since I figure he's probably calling the game. But make sure you keep an eye out at Grueling Truth on Twitter. Go to iTunes, download our app. You can hear all of our shows at iHeart, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher. Anywhere you find podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for Mark Cooper, Brian Schmidt, Alex Golden, Matt Andruscavage, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.